Good morning. I had to get me a spot of tea before I started this morning because I'm losing my voice. Good morning, and this is Beth Dixon, and you can contact me at beth.dixon@ws.edu. Let me erase the ugly part. And then I'm going to put this up where I can reach it and not have to copy this down every time I do a new video. So this is where you can reach me if you need help. I'm doing it the year of the quarantine, so I am not in my office. If it is not the year of quarantine, if it's not spring of 2020, you can usually reach me in room 222 of the Math and Behavioral Social Science building. As we get started, let's look. We're on page 7 of the Math Final Exam Review for Math 0030. I do not know why that is a typo, but it is. It is the Math 0030. That's not a 6, that's a 0. So not only do I have a typo, I have a writing error. But we are on page 7 of the review. I think I said 6, so that's page 7. I can't even read my own can't even read at this point. And we're on problem number 24. And it asks us to find the requested information, which is the slope, the y-intercept, the x-intercept, and the equation from the graph given. And again, there won't be a lot of work for this problem. It's a matter of being able to read a graph. And as we read this graph, you want to find the pieces of information one at a time, and it's like I've said before in this set of videos, and as I've said if you've ever come by the lab, it's my elephant theory, which is how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. It's an old joke. And so how do you tackle a problem, and a very complex problem? You tackle it one bite at a time, one simple part at a time. So before you look at this and say, oh, you tackle it by looking at one problem at a time. How do we find slope? Well, we've done that before in a previous problem. We want whole numbers, so we're going to come down here, and I'm going to say that looks like a whole number, 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 that looks like a whole number. And I just mark the ones that are whole numbers. Then I'm going to, and I'm going to switch to a pencil here because the pens are a little thick of what's going on. Now, as I count, and I'm going to count from left to right, I'm going to go down and over, down and over, down and over, down and over. And I just made little tracks there, almost like stairs. But remember, your slope is rise over run. And your rise over run, in this case, I went down 2 units over 1, 2, 3. Down 2 over 1, 2, 3. Down 2 over 1, 2, 3. Down 2 over 1, 2, 3. And so I'm going down 2, which would be a negative, over 3. And so my slope would be negative 2 over 3. And I'm going to write that in pen because it does show up a little bit better than the pencil on the camera. So that would be my slope. Now your y-intercept is where this graph crosses the y-axis. Your y-axis is here. So where does this graph cross the y-axis? Well, it crosses right there. And so that point is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the point 0, 4. That means it moved left and right, none, and up 4. So that y-intercept would be 0, 4. And unless your teacher tells you otherwise, you should write it as an ordered pair. And then the x-intercept is where this graph crosses the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is the point over 6, up none, up 0. And then we want to write the equation. Well, we're going to write the equation using y equals mx plus b. We need m. Oh, wait a minute. That is the slope. We need b. Oh, that is the y-intercept, which is 4. And so that would be the equation would be y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. And so again, there's not a lot of work there. It's just a matter of putting the pieces together. Okay, let's look at number 25. It says find 3 ordered pair solutions by completing the table, then graph the equation. Again, we're not using the slope and the y-intercept. We're doing this by finding ordered pair solutions. And in this case, we're plugging in 0, 1, and 2 into the equation. And I'm going to do this on another sheet of paper, or i.e. my whiteboard. And so what I'm going to do is take y equals 2x minus 5, and I'm going to plug in my 0, 1, and 2, and then I'll transfer that back over to my graph, because I want to have room to work this out. So basically all I'm going to do is plug in 0. So y equals 2 times 0 minus 5. And I could plug that into the calculator, but I can multiply by 0, and 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So that gives me negative 5. I can plug in y equals 2 times 1 minus 5, which is 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. And I can plug in 2 times 2 minus 5, which is 4 minus 5, which is negative 1. And there's 3 points. And I just didn't want, I wanted to be able, I wanted to be able to show that work. And I didn't want to have to scrunch up that work so you couldn't see it. So now I'm going to come back over here and say 0 gave me negative 5, 1 gives me negative 3, 2 gives me negative 1, and then I'm going to graph those points. Let me erase this. And then I'm going to graph those points. 0, negative 5, 1, negative 3, 2, negative 1. And if, did I bring, got to check my bag of goodies. Again, I'm taping this during quarantine, so I don't necessarily have all of my stuff from my office. And so I don't have my straight edge, but I can make do with a Post-it note. There we go, and I've drawn my line. Do the same thing for the next one, which is negative 3x plus 4. So the next problem is y equals negative 3x plus 4. And again, it wants me to plug in x equals 0, 1, and 2. Whoops, you're too high and you can't see that. So I'm going to bring it down where you can see. So y equals negative 3x plus 4. And then we're going to plug in 0. So that'd be negative 3 times 0 plus 4, which would give me 4. We like 0. Those are always easy ones to plug in. 1 is always easy to plug in because that's an easy multiplication, which is negative 3 plus 4, which is 1. And negative 3 times 2 plus 4 equals negative 6 plus 4, which is negative 2. And so I'm going to transfer those numbers, 0, 4, 1, 1 to -2. Erase this in case I need to use it later. Oh dear, I moved my camera. Let me see if I can get that straight. Sorry about that. I jarred it, moved it, did all sorts of things with it. Now we'll have to play with it and get it right. There, I think I fixed it. Sorry about that. In my enthusiasm, I got all discombobulated. So now let's graph my points. 0, 4, 1, 1, 2, -2. And again, being careful to graph the points correctly, and then taking a straight edge. And for a straight edge, you notice I just found something with a straight edge. You can use, some people use their calculator covers, some people use credit cards, whatever. I like to do a straight edge as opposed to freehanding it because my freehand looks horrible. So that graphs the second one. Now, the next one says use the equations to graph the line. And notice that these are solved for y. These are the two that we should use, the y-intercept and the slope, to graph the lines. Okay, in that case, what that means is that we should be able to look at this and tell where it crosses the y-axis. Remember that these both are in the form of y equals mx plus b, where b is the y-intercept. So that tells me this one right here, y equals mx plus b, that this, by looking, I know its slope is -3/4, and its y-intercept is a +6. By inspection, to be official, -3/4 is the number in front of the x, so its slope is -3/4, and the number by itself is the b, and so it is 6. So that tells me this graph crosses the y-axis at the point 0, 6. That is the y-intercept. So I can come up here and count 6. And I can almost see that before I cover it up, that that's the point 6. And then from that point, think of that as a fence. If I'm building, if my line is like a fence, that's my corner point, my starting point, my corner post. And if I start from there, my slope is -3/4. That's my rise over run. So that would mean that I need, because it's negative, that means I'm going to go down, and I'm going to use my pencil so that you can see it a little better. Down 1, 2, 3, down 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's not part of your line. That's why I did it in pencil. That's just kind of how you will count, and I wanted you to see that count. That's that stair step that we drew in that first one. Down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So here and here would be your 2 points. Down 3/4, draw a point. Down 3/4, draw a point. Now notice I've run out of graph. Notice that I only moved forward in my graph. I did not move backwards. I moved forward. I tell people that come in and we work together when I tutor that it's like driving a car. You learn to drive it forward first, worry about reverse later. In this case, if I tried to worry about reverse, I'd run out of graph, so I don't even need to worry about that in this problem. Yeah, you get a close-up of my arm. Okay, so we're going to take these 3 points, and draw your line. They have that slope, and again, that slope I can erase back out because it's not really part of my line, but I could have left it in there, and your teacher's not going to count it wrong as long as it's not part of your, as long as you didn't draw or connect those points. But that's how you check your slope, is that you went down 3 over 4, down 3 over 4 to get to those lines. And that's how you graph using the slope-intercept form. Okay, let's do the next one. It has a slope of 2/3. Notice this slope is negative, and how it slants downward. This slope will be positive and should slant upward. This one had a positive slope and went up from left to right. This one has a negative slope, and from left to right it goes down. So this one should go up, and its y-intercept is a -7, so it should be at 0, -7. And we always start with the y-intercept. So I'm going to go down here, and it's all the way down here at the bottom at 0, -7, and then we're going to go up 2 over 1, 2, 3. Notice we do not make a point in that middle point. Up 2, make a point, over 3, make a point. No, we count up 2 over 3 and make a point. Up 2 over 3, and I can't do that and talk at the same time. Up 2 over 1, 2, 3, and make a point. Up 2 over 3 runs off the graph, so I'm done. I can't go backwards again because I'm out of the graph. And so I'm going to connect those points, and that is my line, and that is how I graph using the slope and the y-intercept. And that gets us to the end of this page. And that's the end of page 7. I hope this was helpful. And again, if you need to contact me, you can contact me at beth.dixon@WS.edu. And if it is not the spring of 222, you can also find me at MBSS room 222.